Here he is, at the Schloss Adler, the Castle of the Eagles. Believe me, it's well made, because only an eagle can get to it. Our job is to get inside there and get him out as soon as possible.
Major Bergholder, my adjutant.
Green on go!
Colonel Weissner, field security.
From Clint Eastwood nearly dying in the Alps to Richard Burton drinking actual whiskey between takes, where Eagles Dare pushed the boundaries of 1960s action filmmaking in ways that would be considered absolutely insane today. One stuntman broke his back, another nearly froze to death, and the film's writer created the entire screenplay in just 6 weeks while recovering from pneumonia. These are 21 facts about Where Eagles Dare that prove this wartime thriller was just as dangerous to make as it was thrilling to watch. Where Eagles Dare hit theaters in 1968 and immediately became one of the highest-grossing films of the year. The movie follows a team of Allied commandos on a seemingly impossible mission to rescue an American general from a mountaintop fortress in the Bavarian Alps. But what audiences saw on screen was only half the story. Behind the cameras, the production turned into a real-life adventure filled with near-death experiences, million-dollar mistakes, and creative decisions that would never fly in modern Hollywood. Number 1. Alistair MacLean wrote the entire screenplay while sick in bed with pneumonia, finishing the script in just 6 weeks. MacLean was already a best-selling author known for The Guns of Navarone when producer Elliot Kastner approached him with an unusual proposal. Instead of adapting an existing novel, Kastner wanted an original screenplay first. MacLean agreed but got sick almost immediately. Bedridden with pneumonia at his home in Switzerland, he cranked out one of the most complex action scripts of the decade. The novel came out with the film, and both became massive hits. Number 2. Richard Burton was paid $1.2 million for the role, making him one of the highest-paid actors in the world at that time. Burton's star power in 1968 was at its absolute peak. Fresh off massive successes and constant tabloid coverage of his relationship with Elizabeth Taylor, Burton could command basically any salary he wanted. The producers knew they needed a major name to anchor the film, and Burton's presence alone guaranteed international box office success across multiple markets. That $1.2 million paycheck would be worth over $10 million today. Burton spent much of that money almost as fast as he earned it, funding his legendary lifestyle of private jets, yachts, and buying Elizabeth Taylor yet another piece of expensive jewelry. The investment paid off for the studio, though. Burton's name on the poster helped Where Eagles Dare gross over $21 million worldwide, delivering a strong return on their substantial investment in the British actor. Number 3. Clint Eastwood was paid just $25,000, less than 2% of what Richard Burton made. Eastwood was still building his Hollywood career in 1968. He had become famous in Italy for Sergio Leone's spaghetti westerns, but American studios still saw him as a rising star. The producers offered him the role knowing his fee would be a fraction of Burton's. The pay gap was astronomical. Burton made 48 times more money. Eastwood took the job to break into big-budget Hollywood productions, and within a few years, his asking price would rival Burton's. Number 4. The cable car sequence was filmed on an actual working cable car system in Austria, with no safety nets and minimal safety equipment. The production team chose the Feuerkogel cable car near Ebensee, Austria, for the film's most iconic sequences. This was not a studio set or a safe recreation. This was a real cable car running hundreds of feet above the ground over the Austrian Alps. Stuntmen performed fights on top of moving cable cars with nothing but a harness and a prayer keeping them alive. Modern film productions would never attempt something this dangerous. Insurance companies would shut down the production immediately. But in 1968, the attitude was different. Director Brian Hutton wanted authenticity, and authenticity meant real danger. Several crew members reported feeling sick watching the stuntmen work. The cable car operators thought the filmmakers were absolutely crazy. The footage looks incredible on screen precisely because the danger was real. You can see the genuine terror in the stunt double's body language as they fight hundreds of feet above the rocky terrain below. Number 5. stuntman Joe Knut broke his back during filming, but continued working on the movie after recovering. Knut came from stunt royalty. His father, Yakima Knut, was a legendary stuntman who had worked on Ben-Hur. During a cable car sequence, a stunt went wrong, and Knut fractured vertebrae in his spine. Doctors told him his stunt career might be over. After several weeks of recovery, he returned to set and finished his scenes. The injury caused chronic pain for years, but Knut considered it part of the job. Number 6. The Schloss Adler Fortress was actually 2 different locations combined through editing. The exterior shots of the massive mountaintop castle were filmed at Hohenwerfen Castle in Austria, an 11th century fortress perched high above the Salzach Valley. The interior scenes were shot at Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer's studios in England on elaborately constructed sets. The production design team studied real Nazi-era architecture and built historically accurate interiors complete with period-appropriate furnishings, authentic decorations, and working mechanical elements. The seamless editing between the real Austrian castle and the English studio sets created the illusion of one continuous location. Most viewers never noticed the switch. The decision to split locations was purely practical. Hohenwerfen Castle was perfect for dramatic exterior shots with the Alps in the background, giving the fortress an imposing presence that dominated the landscape. But the interior spaces were too small and historically protected to accommodate a full film crew and major action sequences. Building sets in England gave the filmmakers complete control over lighting, camera angles, and the ability to blow things up without damaging an actual historic landmark. The studio sets also allowed for repeated takes and complex choreography that would have been impossible in the real castle's confined medieval spaces. Number 7. Richard Burton drank real alcohol during many indoor scenes, not prop drinks. Burton's drinking was legendary in Hollywood, and Where Eagles Dare didn't slow him down. In scenes where Major Smith drinks whiskey or brandy in the castle, Burton insisted on the real stuff. He claimed it helped him deliver a more authentic performance. By most accounts, Burton remained professional and hit his marks, but several cast members recalled him becoming noticeably more relaxed as shooting days progressed. Director Brian Hutton accepted this as part of working with Burton. The drinking didn't affect Burton's performance. His scenes are sharp and commanding throughout the film. Number 8. Clint Eastwood performed many of his own stunts, including the famous scene where he hangs from a rope outside the castle. Eastwood had built his reputation in westerns where he did most of his own stunt work, and he brought that same hands-on approach to Where Eagles Dare. The sequence where Lieutenant Schaffer descends the castle wall on a rope was mostly Eastwood himself, not a stunt double. He insisted on doing it to maintain authenticity in the close-up shots. The production team rigged safety lines that would be invisible on camera, but the stunt was still dangerous. Eastwood was dangling against a real stone wall dozens of feet above the ground. One slip, one equipment failure, and the production would have lost its second lead actor. Eastwood apparently never showed fear. Crew members said he approached the stunt with the same calm confidence he brought to everything else. That unshakable cool became part of Eastwood's screen persona and helped define his career. The rope scene remains one of the film's most memorable images. Eastwood's character suspended against the massive fortress wall, and knowing that was really him makes it even more impressive. Number 9. The film's famous explosion of the cable car station required 3 takes because the first 2 attempts failed to produce the dramatic effect the director wanted. Brian Hutton envisioned a massive fireball that would serve as the climax of the film's action sequences. The special effects team rigged the cable car station building with explosives and prepared for what they thought would be a one-take spectacular. They were wrong. The first detonation produced smoke but not enough fire. The explosion looked underwhelming on camera, lacking the visceral impact Hutton demanded. Hutton ordered the team to reset and try again. The second attempt was better but still didn't achieve the massive fireball Hutton wanted. Finally, on the third try, the special effects crew loaded even more explosive charges and gasoline, pushing the limits of what was safe. The resulting blast was enormous, sending flames and debris high into the Austrian sky, creating a mushroom cloud that could be seen for miles. That's the explosion that made it into the final film. Each failed attempt cost the production significant time and money. In modern filmmaking, this kind of practical effect would likely be handled with computer graphics, allowing unlimited takes and adjustments. But in 1968, if you wanted an explosion, you had to actually blow something up. The final result was worth the trouble and expense. The cable car station explosion remains one of the most impressive practical effects of 1960s cinema. Number 10. Mary Ure, who played Mary Ellison, was terrified of heights but had to perform scenes on the cable car and near castle ledges. Ure was a respected British actress known for stage work and dramatic roles, where Eagles Dare required her to do things outside her comfort zone. Ure admitted to director Brian Hutton that she had severe acrophobia. Hutton worked with her to find camera angles that would minimize exposure to the worst heights. In wider shots where Mary Ellison appears near ledges, that's actually a stunt double. But several close-ups are genuinely Ure pushing through her fear. Ure's performance doesn't show any terror. On screen, Mary Ellison appears confident and capable. Number 11. The production spent over $3 million, making it one of the most expensive films of 1968. Where Eagles Dare had a massive budget by late 1960s standards, the $3 million price tag reflected the film's ambitious scope, international locations, elaborate sets, and expensive cast. For comparison, most Hollywood films of that era cost between $1 and $2 million. The producers were betting big that the combination of Richard Burton's star power, Alistair MacLean's storytelling, and spectacular action sequences would deliver box office returns. The gamble paid off spectacularly. The film grossed over $21 million worldwide, making it one of the year's biggest hits. That kind of return on investment proved that audiences were hungry for large-scale action films with A-list stars. Where Eagles Dare helped establish the template for the modern action blockbuster with its big budget, international locations, huge set pieces, and marquee names above the title. The success encouraged studios to greenlight even more expensive action films throughout the 1970s, paving the way for the blockbuster era that would explode in the next decade. Number 12. Alistair MacLean's screenplay was considered unusually complex for an action film, with multiple double crosses that audiences had to track carefully. Most action films of the 60s followed straightforward plots, where Eagles Dare was different. MacLean crafted layers of deception. Characters who seemed trustworthy were revealed as traitors. Major Smith knew things he wasn't telling his team. The film required audiences to pay attention to dialogue and details, not just explosions. Some critics complained the plot was too convoluted. Others praised MacLean for treating audiences as intelligent viewers who could handle complexity. The film proved you could have both brains and explosions, a combination that became standard in later action films. Number 13. The film was shot in 3 different countries over 6 months. Production began in Austria for alpine locations and cable car sequences, moved to Bavaria in southern Germany for mountain scenes, then returned to England for interior castle shots on MGM soundstages. Coordinating production across 3 countries in 1968 was logistically challenging before modern digital communication. Equipment and crew had to be moved between countries. Customs paperwork, local permits, everything required physical coordination. Director Brian Hutton had to adapt to different conditions in each location. Austrian Alps brought weather challenges and extreme cold. Bavarian villages required working around civilians. English soundstages offered control but required matching the lighting of location footage. Number 14. Ron Goodwin's musical score was recorded in just 3 days with a full orchestra at Shepperton Studios. Goodwin composed a sweeping orchestral score that became one of his most recognized works. The main theme, with its driving percussion and heroic brass, perfectly captured the film's tension and excitement. Recording the full score in 3 days was incredibly tight. Goodwin worked with a large orchestra, making adjustments on the fly. The resulting score elevates every scene. The cable car sequences feel more suspenseful with tense strings. Action scenes explode with energy from pounding drums. Goodwin's work influenced action film scoring for years afterward. Number 15. Ingrid Pitt, who played Heidi the German barmaid, was actually a Polish actress who had escaped from a communist prison camp in East Germany during her teens. Pitt's real-life story was as dramatic as any film plot. Born in Poland during World War II, she survived the Holocaust as a child. As a teenager, Pitt and her mother attempted to escape to the West. They were caught and imprisoned. Eventually, Pitt escaped by swimming across a river into West Berlin. She made her way to Britain and began acting. Her German language skills were fluent, making her perfect for the role. Pitt brought authenticity because she understood on a personal level what occupation and resistance meant. Number 16. The film features over 250 deaths, making it one of the highest body counts in cinema up to that point. Where Eagles Dare doesn't hold back on violence. German soldiers die in explosions, fall from heights, get shot in firefights throughout the 2.5-hour runtime. Clint Eastwood's Lieutenant Schaffer alone kills dozens of enemy soldiers. For a 1968 film, the violence was substantial. This was before the MPAA rating system. The high body count served the story's stakes. This was desperate combat behind enemy lines. The violence reflected brutal wartime reality. The film's success showed audiences were ready for more intense action cinema. Number 17. Director Brian Hutton had never directed an action film before Where Eagles Dare, and was known primarily for television work. The producers took a gamble hiring Hutton. His film experience was limited to smaller projects, but they saw something in his work that suggested he could handle the scale Where Eagles Dare required. Hutton proved to be a natural at staging action sequences. His television background helped him work efficiently under pressure. The cable car fights, castle infiltration, and climactic firefight all show a director who understood tension and satisfying action beats. Hutton's work launched him into big-budget action directing. He went on to direct Kelly's Heroes in 1970, but Where Eagles Dare remained his most celebrated achievement. Number 18. The Bavarian village sequences were filmed in the actual village of Werfen, Austria, and the production temporarily took over the entire town. The filmmakers needed an authentic German village for key scenes. Rather than build a set, they negotiated with Werfen to rent the entire town for several weeks. Local businesses adapted their storefronts to look period-appropriate. Nazi flags and German signs went up throughout the village. Extras were hired from the local population. For Werfen residents, a major Hollywood crew invading their quiet alpine village was probably the most exciting thing to happen in decades. The production paid well, and money flowing into local businesses was welcome. Watching Where Eagles Dare, you're seeing a real Austrian village transformed into wartime Germany. Number 19. Clint Eastwood and Richard Burton barely spoke off camera despite their strong on-screen chemistry. The two actors came from completely different backgrounds with different approaches to their craft. Burton was classically trained, a Shakespearean actor who brought theatrical intensity. Eastwood was a method-influenced performer who relied on minimalism. Their acting styles clashed, their personalities didn't mesh. Burton liked to party with the crew. Eastwood kept to himself and left as soon as his scenes were done. They were professional on camera, and their scenes together worked perfectly. But the moment the director called cut, Burton and Eastwood went separate ways. Neither spoke badly about the other later. They simply acknowledged they were different people who worked well together professionally. Number 20. The snow in many scenes was artificial because production hit unusually warm weather in the Alps. The filmmakers planned to shoot during winter months when snow coverage would be guaranteed. Nature didn't cooperate. The winter of 1967 and early 1968 was warmer than usual. Snow melted faster than expected. Some locations were brown and muddy instead of snow-covered. The production couldn't wait for weather to change. The solution was industrial snow machines and truckloads of artificial snow material. Special effects teams covered filming locations with fake snow that looked convincing on camera. In wide shots, natural snow on distant peaks mixed with artificial snow in the foreground to create the illusion of winter. Modern audiences probably never notice which scenes use real versus artificial snow. Number 21. The film's climactic motorcycle chase through the Alps was considered so dangerous that insurance companies initially refused to cover it. The script called for a high-speed motorcycle chase with multiple bikes racing through mountain roads, jumping obstacles, and performing dangerous maneuvers. The insurance underwriters looked at the scene description and basically said, no way. The risk was too high. Someone was definitely going to get hurt or killed. The production team negotiated for weeks, eventually agreeing to additional safety measures and higher premiums. Even then, the insurance coverage was limited. Stunt coordinator Yakima Knut supervised the sequence personally, knowing his son Joe was among the stunt performers. The motorcycle chase was filmed over several days with multiple cameras capturing different angles. Several minor crashes occurred, bikes went off-road, riders took tumbles. Miraculously, no one suffered major injuries during the motorcycle sequence. The final chase scene in the film looks incredibly dangerous because it was incredibly dangerous. The speed was real. The mountain roads were real. The risks were real. Modern productions would use green screen and digital effects for a sequence like this. In 1968, if you wanted to film motorcycles racing through the Alps, you put stunt riders on motorcycles and sent them racing through the Alps. The results speak for themselves. The chase remains thrilling decades later precisely because audiences can sense the genuine danger. Where Eagles Dare pushed filmmaking to its limits in 1968. The production combined old-school Hollywood spectacle with genuine physical danger. Actors drank real alcohol on set. Stuntmen broke their backs and kept working. Explosions required multiple takes to get massive enough. Cable car fights happened hundreds of feet in the air with minimal safety equipment. The film cost $3 million and made back 7 times that amount. It launched Brian Hutton's career as an action director. It proved Clint Eastwood could carry a major Hollywood production. It showed that audiences wanted complex plotting mixed with spectacular action. Every one of these 21 facts reveals something about how different filmmaking was in the late 1960s, and why Where Eagles Dare remains a landmark in action cinema history. The risks taken, the money spent, the dangers faced, all of it came together to create a film that still holds up over 50 years later.